Former Cuban leader Fidel Castro dies at 90. Voters in Ondo State exercise their franchise today as they elect a new governor. President Buhari says no deceitful projects and figures will be injected into the 2017 budget as experienced in the 2016 budget. Minister of Information and Culture challenges NTA to take the lead as the date for digital switchover approaches. Hello, this is NTA News 24. Thanks for joining us on this morning news. I'm Musbad and Wahab guiding you on the news from the nation's capital, Abuja. Of course, we're coming to you this late because of a live telecast in our Ondo Desai studios. Now to the news. Cuba's former president, Fidel Castro, has died at the age of 90. Castro led a rebel army to victory in Cuba, embraced Soviet-style communism, and defied the power of 10 United States of America's presidents during his half-a-century rule. Oyeyemi Ajayi of our foreign desk takes a look at the man Fidel Castro and his legacy.
Castro has died at the age of 90. Castro led a rebel army to victory in Cuba, embraced Soviet-style communists, and defied the power of 10 United States presidents during his half-century rule. The Cuban legend's death was announced at 10 p.m. on Friday by his younger brother and the current serving president of Cuba, Raul Castro. Raul ended the announcement by shouting the revolutionary slogan, "Towards victory always."
Falleció el comandante en jefe de la revolución cubana, Fidel Castro Ruz.
Castro's reign over the island nation, 90 miles from Florida, was marked by the U.S.-backed Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961 and the Cuban Missile Crisis a year later that brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. The bearded revolutionary, who survived a crippling U.S. trade embargo as well as dozens, possibly hundreds, of assassination plots, died 10 years after ill health forced him to hand power over to Raul. Castro overcame imprisonment at the hands of dictator Fulgencio Batista, exile in Mexico, and a disastrous start to his rebellion before triumphantly riding into Havana in July 1959 to become, at age 32, the youngest leader in Latin America.
The American people, I think, is good people.
But the American authorities?
Yes, they have not to charge with the guilty of all the lies that publicity tell to them. The people of the United States is good people. Harlem people is wonderful people. United States people is very good people.
For decades, he served as an inspiration and source of support to revolutionaries from Latin America to Africa. His commitment to socialism was unwavering, though his power finally began to fade in May 2006 when a gastrointestinal ailment forced him to hand over the presidency to Raul in 2008, provisionally at first and then permanently. His defiant image lingered long after he gave up his trademark Cohiba cigars for health reasons, and his tall frame grew stooped.
Desaparezca la filosofía del despojo y habrá desaparecido la filosofía de la guerra. Desaparezcan las colonias. Desaparezca la explotación de los países por los monopolios. Y entonces la humanidad habrá alcanzado una verdadera etapa de progreso.
He survived long enough to see Raul Castro negotiate an opening with U.S. President Barack Obama on December 17, 2014, when Washington and Havana announced they would move to restore diplomatic ties for the first time since they were severed in 1961. Castro attended Jesuit schools, then the University of Havana, where he received law and social science degrees. In retirement, Castro voiced unwavering support as Raul slowly but deliberately enacted sweeping changes to the Marxist system he had built. Fidel Castro was born August 13, 1926 in eastern Cuba's sugar country, where his Spanish immigrant father worked first recruiting labor for U.S. sugar companies and later built up a prosperous plantation of his own. Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
Yeah, that's the end of a legend in Cuba. Now back home, President Muhammadu Buhari has vowed to ensure that under his watch, deceitful projects and figures are no longer injected into the nation's budgetary provisions as experienced in the 2016 budget. The president stated this while receiving in audience members of the Good Governance Support Group on Solidarity visit. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who described the distortions that happened to the 2016 budget as embarrassing, told his guests that the 2017 budget is being awaited in the Federal Executive Council, and as he puts it, any sign of padding anywhere will be removed. His administration, he said, stands by its pre-election promises of securing the country, reviving the economy, and fighting corruption, but wondered why some people are deliberately turning blind eye to the nation's prevailing realities. He insists that with the present economic situation in the country, it cannot be business as usual. On the fight against corruption, President Buhari expressed the belief that the cleansing currently ongoing, especially in the nation's judiciary, will lead to better administration of justice, where the guilt in corruption allegations are appropriately made to pay for their sins. He used the forum to applaud the progress being made in agricultural development and the exploitation of solid minerals, saying this gives a lot of hope on food security and economic diversification drive. The president also spoke on the violence that attend rerun elections in the country, saying Nigerians should have passed the stage in which people are beheaded and killed because of who occupy certain offices, as witnessed in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Rivers states. As he puts it, if we cannot guarantee decent elections, then we have no business being around. Ido election was good, and I expect Ondo to be better. Mr. Chukwuemeka Nwajuba, who spoke on behalf of the Good Governance Support Group, said the Buhari administration has succeeded to a large extent on the security and anti-corruption front, saying there are positive signs that the economy will soon experience a turnaround. Some members of the group spoke to newsmen.
We make observations on what is happening on security, the economy, corruptions, and all the topical issues in this country. He appreciated our inputs and he promises to take appropriate action where possible.
Mr. President said what he's doing is to do prudent management of the resources on hand and trying to plan on how to close up the infrastructure deficit. Like the Mambila project is targeted at 4,000 megawatts of electricity, which is higher than what we have presently. And it is also going to irrigate thousands of hectares of land for agricultural purposes. The East-West Road, for instance, had not been completed. In that loan package is $500 million to complete the East-West Road because it cuts across the nerve center of the Niger Delta region. Mr. President is concerned about the Niger Delta region. For him, the borrowing is not for himself. It is for the Nigerian people.
The Good Governance Support Group recommends what it calls a social rearmament of the poor and the lowly as the biggest constituency of the president. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Senate President Bukola Saraki says Nigeria must transit towards green growth development since oil cannot sustain the country anymore. National Assembly correspondent Waziri Ziano reports that Bukola Saraki stated this at a Green Economy Lecture Series and Award in Abuja.
Shortly after being awarded with the 2016 Nigerian Green Economy Award, the Senate President said available data shows that Nigeria can generate over 3 million jobs annually in the renewable energy industry.
I personally pledge to continue working for Nigerians using our legislative powers to initiate and pass appropriate legislation towards our work on sustainable and efficient energy.
Also speaking, Minister of Environment Amina Mohammed reiterated the need for Nigeria to think out of the box and transit towards green growth pathway.
President Buhari's bold and decisive commitment and the adoption of the Paris Agreement, particularly pledging our nationally determined contributions, where Nigeria intends to reduce its emissions by 20% by 2020 and 45% conditionally by 2030, with support from the international community.
From the National Assembly, Wazir Zayan, NTA News.
The Executive Secretary, Tertiary Education Trust Fund, Abdullahi Bichi Baffa, says the agency needs sufficient funding because of its huge intervention responsibility for supplementary support to all levels of public institutions under federal and state governments. It stated this before the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions visiting on oversight.
Executive Secretary also said they provide and maintain essential physical infrastructure for teaching and learning, academic staff training and development.
Tertiary education institutions in Nigeria becomes globally competitive. We feel that the nexus where all the links are going to be joined is TED Fund for us to achieve that global competitiveness.
The only way Africa or Nigeria in particular can train and retain its staff is to focus on strengthening our capacity to train them internally.
Chairman of the committee emphasized on proper funding of the organization so that they can comfortably compete with similar mandated agencies in other countries.
So also our colleagues of education, we are extending this kind of arrangement to them. So we are all hands are on deck to bring, if you like, revolution, to bring change.
In another development, the Senate Committee on Culture and Tourism oversighted the National Commission for Museums and Monuments and National Gallery of Arts on their 2016 performance on achievements and drawbacks so that they can situate them in the 2017 budget.
We will crave the indulgence of the committee to see if it can bring to plenary the issue of making a clear statement demanding for the return of Nigeria's artifact.
Each collection over 2,000 works and was recently valued for over 54 billion.
We are impressed as a committee from the Ministry of Information and Culture, with the cultural arm of it. These are big participants of government. They might not be too visible, because of certain reasons, and those reasons are what we are trying to remove from them.
Oversight visits to ministries, agencies and departments by the National Assembly continues to round off the year. In Abuja, Ifeanyi Izumba, NT News.
The House of Representatives has urged the Nigerian police force to make the welfare of its officers and men a priority. This was at a public hearing by the House Ad Hoc Committee investigates alleged corruption involving insurance company and some government establishments. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Unkwo reports.
The committee was particularly concerned about the complaint by some retired and family members of dead police officers of delay and non-payment of their entitlements.
We're going to do a full-page advert inviting all affected men and women of Nigerian police who have been injured or families who are affected by disabilities or death and whose claims are still pending. And that they should raise, even some are already coming in.
Assistant Commissioner of Police Isiaku Mohammed gave an insight into the various types of insurance policies entered into by the Nigerian police force.
So we have the group personal accident insurance cover, which was introduced in 2002. Then we have group life insurance, and we have insurance of buildings and marines, which now we have over 3,000 people. Yes. Who died? Yes, the claims are about 20-something billion uncovered, yes.
Consideration of reports by the head of civil service of the Federation, the executive chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Services, and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation were deferred to a later date. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Unkwo, NTA News.
This is the news from NTA News 24. We're taking a break now. When we come back, there will be more stories on the line. Thanks for staying tuned in on NTA News 24. The House of Representatives Committee on Niger Delta says peace must be restored in the region by all means, as failure would impact negatively on the country. This disclosure was made during an oversight visit to the Presidential Amnesty Office in Abuja. Timothy Yusuf reports.
The 11-member committee led by their chairman, Asian Ekpayong Ayi, said peace in the Niger Delta region amounts to peace in Nigeria. According to the committee, the National Assembly has passed the executive's vehement request for the presidential amnesty program, stressing that the gesture shows the legislature's commitment to the success of the program.
We do everything possible as a house to ensure that we have absolute peace in the Niger Delta. Because every time I look at what is happening in Syria, Aleppo, I pray that such things does not happen to Nigeria, because it's a terrible experience.
Presidential Advisor on Amnesty, Brigadier General Paul Boro, revealed that the Amnesty Office will on Monday, November 28, deploy 500 beneficiaries of the program to undergo training in advanced agriculture at the Bioresources Center in Odi, Bayelsa State. The Amnesty coordinator stated that 500 other beneficiaries will also be trained at the center upon the completion of the first batch in the next 5 months.
I will first and foremost appreciate the President for sustainability of the program. Actually, it's a very expensive program, but be that as it may, it's a program that is a mechanism for resolving conflicts, particularly in Niger Delta.
While thanking the National Assembly for its accelerated approval of the vehement request by the executive, General Boro explained that the Presidential Amnesty Office was allocated 25 billion naira appropriation under the 2016 budget, including a 5 billion naira loan from the government. On payment of stipends to amnesty beneficiaries, the coordinator explained that his office is sensitizing them and their leaders to the reality that the stipends cannot continue to be paid forever, and reiterated government's commitment to the training and empowerment of all beneficiaries of the program before exit. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Election is ongoing in the state as voters exercise their franchise to elect a new governor that will take over from Olusegun Mimiko, whose tenure expires in February 2017. Report from our correspondents say the exercise has been peaceful today, despite some skirmishes in Nowo yesterday. We'll bring to you more updates as they come to us in our subsequent bulletins. Now, the news continues. The Nigerian Air Force has explained that, contrary to media reports that a helicopter recently handed over to it by the presidency crashed. What happened was that the mishap occurred while the helicopter was taxiing after a successful mission. A statement from the Air Force Director of Public Relations and Information Group, Captain Ayodele Famuyiwa, says the incident happened last week on the tarmac at 33 Logistics Group, Makudi. The statement says the Air Force has set up a 7-man board of officers headed by Air Vice Marshal Emmanuel Anebi to investigate the immediate and remote causes of the incident. The statement promises that details of the investigation would be communicated to the public as soon as it is completed. President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated a Prince of Sokoto and former Nigeria's High Commissioner to South Africa, Alhaji Shehu Malami Sarki Sudan, on his attainment of 79 years. A statement from the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, describes the businessman and diplomat as an asset to the country. The statement further says Nigeria will remain ever grateful to the Sarkin Sudan for his years of public service and for his continued support to humanitarian causes, even as he ages gracefully, adding that the elder statesman deserves all the attention and accolades he is receiving on the attainment of this milestone. The President prayed Allah to grant Alhaji Shehu Malami more years in good health for the benefit of his family in particular and the nation in general. With the 2017 digital switchover on the horizon, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has challenged the Nigerian Television Authority (NTA) to be at the forefront of news, better and focused broadcasting. The minister stated this at a retreat for the management of the authority. Dennis Adegunloye reports.
The minister said that under his watch, repositioning the NTA is top on his agenda, hence describing the retreat as an opportunity to self-critique and analyze. He said an important part of the process is the constructive exchanges, which will go a long way in taking the authority to the next level of service delivery.
My vision is that by the time, in the next 24 months, without any argument, we should be the #1 station in this country and by extension of Africa.
An appropriate and right balance, Lai Mohammed says, should be achieved between being a government organization and appealing to the viewer.
How do we convince Nigerians that we are back, or we're on the way back to being #1? We must really let people know we are credible. We're not just, we're a government organization, we're not a government organ. Oh, we support government, of course, yes. But we also know that at the end of the day, our first obligation is also to Nigerians, to our viewers. It's the viewers that will determine how good we are, not the government.
Director General of the NTA, Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, said since the NTA can be restored to its former glory, his tenure will ensure all hands will be on deck to achieve this objective.
This kind of event gives one a reason to be happy about how proactive and forward-looking our system is becoming, especially as we battle with obvious impediments bedeviling our practice. The actualization of this event for which we are here gathered is to a large extent a function of the leadership and direction of one man, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture. I cannot thank him enough. I am confident that this wonderful opportunity presented us today will help us chart a new course of innovative action that will usher us into the digital era of broadcasting.
The retreat had as its theme, Positioning NTA for Better Performance. In Abuja, Dennis Adegunloye, NTA News.
Experts on family planning have acknowledged the federal government's investment of the program in Nigeria and called for more advocacy to achieve more success. This was part of the submissions at a post-4th Nigeria Family Planning Conference media roundtable organized by the Association for the Advancement of Family Planning of the News Agency of Nigeria headquarters in Abuja. Aisha Ubali reports.
The growing population in Nigeria, coupled with poor attitude of many to embracing family planning, has resulted in high maternal and child mortality rates. At the just concluded 4th Nigeria Family Planning Conference, experts in the field recommended active involvement of the private sector to sustain and bring to scale access to family planning information and services.
Urgent need to strengthen public-private partnership, PPP, in order to make quality and affordable family planning information, products and services available to Nigerians.
The conference did highlight the fact that one of the reasons why we are where we are concerning our family planning is the issue of early marriage. And I think it's a message for the media in particular.
Urgent need for its programs to be youth-centered and all-inclusive, as well as proper data management with states in the Federation exploring opportunities provided by the Global Financing Facility also formed the crux of the conference outcome. The family planning experts also say focus should be on young persons' involvement in decision-making and programming.
As it were, we have almost all methods available, from the short-term methods to the long-term methods. So the knowledge of the availability of this amongst the youths and in how to assess them, again, is so key.
Everybody has a responsibility. All the tiers of government has a responsibility, a big role to play in making family planning accessible to every individual and couple that needs to use it in Nigeria.
The expert supported local advocacy to change how Nigeria finances the distribution of family planning commodities, budget transparency, and accountability network to improve access to family planning services in Nigeria. In Abuja, Aisha Uba Ali, NTA News.
Let's talk some sport now. Nigeria women assistant coach N. Chiejine is confident her side will bounce back to winning ways in their final Group B clash against Kenya in Limbe. Despite being held to a 1-1 draw against Ghana, she insists her ladies only stumbled but will be fully ready to record a massive win in their last group game at the Limbe Omnisports Stadium. The Super Falcons were denied an early ticket to the semi-final following their draw with Ghana. They are expected to step up their bid for a successful title defense at the 2016 Africa Women's Cup of Nations when they face Kenya in the last group game. A win for Florence Omagbemi's ladies will see them finish as Group B winners, and that would see them avoid host Cameroon in the last 4. And that's been the news. 19:24 this morning. Ondo people, Ondo electorate are still deciding, and I will take you to our Ondo Decides studio.
Thanks for joining us again on Ondo Decide Studios, and a very big thank you there to Musbal Danwa